Right off the bat, the entire point in this video is how do you want to die, because you're not surviving any of these things in a normal setting. The Velociraptors of the franchise are probably the most dangerous things to humans in the entire trilogy. They aren't the strongest theropod in the franchise, not by a long shot, but to humans they are the worst things you could run into. The biggest things you cannot run, most of the time, and can't follow you into certain areas, but the raptors, they can follow you anywhere. Any opening you could fit, they could also fit. But there are different subspecies of Velociraptor in Jurassic Park. Each can tear you apart, but which one would actually make you beg for death in like 2 seconds? Well, that's what I want to figure out in this video. Which of the 3 raptor subspecies confirmed in Jurassic Park would make death seem like mercy? For this video I'm going to include the original raptors from Jurassic Park 1 to 3, not World. You know what? I got some time. We'll include the ones from Jurassic World too. But before that, a lot of you said you'd like to see me cover the plot of the other Jurassic movies but with accurate dinosaurs like this one. Only thing most of you disagreed with was leaving the Indominus an overpowered hybrid and converting everything else to the real thing. So I'll try to put the hybrids to some more accuracy if I can in the future. If I had to base the Indom on a real dinosaur, I don't know, I'd probably say a really big Allosaurus Anax. However, of course, since I brought in Rexy as an accurate T-Rex, there are bound to be some people quoting Goji sent this video because they can't think for themselves. No statements or proof, their only argument was, well, Goji said this. I don't have an issue with Goji Center. I actually watch a lot of his stuff. Wouldn't even mind doing a collab with him if he's up for it in the future. But dear heaven, some of you have got to think for yourselves. And the thing is that a lot of you I'm sure haven't even fully watched Goji Senter's video, because I'm sure he never said a T-Rex can run 33 miles per hour. Even though I don't agree with how he just made, suit dog out Rexy, they gave mostly accurate facts for the T-Rex, but never once did they say a real Rex can run 33 miles per hour, or have a 100-ton bite force. Yes, there were people saying that. First of all, once anything gets into the Megaceropod range of weight, anything over 20 miles per hour is near impossible, even more so for a T-Rex. If it even tried to run 33 miles per hour, its hip would shatter under the weight. And the 100-ton bite force, I don't even know what to say. I'm actually shocked. I don't think even the Megalodon could bite that hard. There was a bunch more, but if you're making an argument, at least be a little accurate. It got so bad that people were downsizing the Indominus saying she was only 6 tons to make the T-Rex win. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. If you do want to have a logical debate, join the Discord. Got an entire channel for that. But there's more stuff like art events, even map building contest. And even if you can't do that, you could just yap about anything with big teeth with me and the rest. Think I've dragged this on for long enough though, so let's get into the video. We're going to start off with the Park Raptors first, from the very first movie. These guys are to this day some of the most iconic dinosaurs in the entire franchise, introduced as animals with an almost human-like intelligence and superhuman strength. The ringleader of them all was of course the big one, who isn't bigger than any of our pack mates by the way, just more aggressive as Muldoon said. She killed out her entire pack, leaving only 3 survivors, who understandably follow her every lead so they don't get slimed themselves. These raptors are brutal and could trick people. What's worse is that it's almost like a game to them. Chronotician's video showcases what Arnold possibly saw when the raptors broke out and gave an insight on how he could have died. In the movie we see that Arnold's entire arm was just, cleaved off. Even though it still would have been gruesome, seeing his body mangled would have been a bit better, because to break or even take off the human forearm regardless requires at least 1000 newtons of force, which is horrifying for something that's small and big show. It's one thing to be smart, but to be smart and act rabid is another. And since these raptors were from the very first movie, I'd like to think that they took some traits from Crichton's book, which means that before they kill you, they would eat you alive. So in an abandoned building, it would know where you are, but will play mind games with you just to feed on your flesh before you could even kick the bucket. The raptors in the second film are somewhat similar, although their capacity to trick humans isn't on par with the ones in the first film. In The Lost World, the raptors have the same model as the first movie, but they are striped. However, they aren't the only raptors here, as different parts of the island have different populations and subspecies. These guys are capable of most things you'd expect a raptor in this franchise to do. Intelligence, coordinated attacks, and superhuman strength. But the one thing it seems they don't really have like the first ones are, just pure focus. I mean, Sarah got 2 of them to kill each other by making one fall next to another one. Imagine Sarah fell right next to them, and they still couldn't put that minor inconvenience aside to dispatch their target. While the raptors in the first film did kill each other, it was more so to determine a strict hierarchy, and they wouldn't do that in the middle of a hunt. Worst thing is that the dominant raptor snaps at the other and the argument is over. So if there's a pair of them after you, if you're lucky you could just get in between them, and just before they jump at you, dodge and make sure they hit each other so you could just run away and they go at it. However, that's not a guarantee, and there's always a chance they could just ignore that and take you out. In terms of killing methods, it's pretty much the same with the big one and her kin, tearing at all sides and possibly eaten alive. However, the next subspecies of raptors on this island is possibly the smartest dinosaur in the franchise and has many ways it could dispatch you. When it comes to intelligence, the 3 animals in this trilogy that always come to my mind are the Indominus, Indoraptor, and Jurassic Park III's raptor. These quilled subspecies dominate the south part of the island, with them establishing different populations in that area. It is unknown if they have regular turf wars with the other subspecies, but not likely since both know to stay out of each other's territory, and they also hunt in different environments. These raptors are more slim than the previous raptors mentioned, but that doesn't mean they aren't strong, since in a cutscene for the movie they somehow managed to kill 87. However, even if they probably are just barely less powerful than the other two, Quilliam and his species outclasses them in intelligence and planning. These raptors patrol the abandoned lab all the time, maybe in hopes that if a human finds himself on the island, they could catch them there. But once they find out you're on that island, have mercy. Quilliam knew Grant and his crew would go there, so he not only predicted it, but then waited behind a test tube for who knows how long until Amanda came into striking distance to grab her. But she has immense levels of plot armor. I'm still pissed that she just happened to be caught by that tree. Speaking of, like the big one, they could set traps for humans, but they could do so by using people or even man-made things to do it. Think we all know what happened to Odeski. The raptors crippled him and used him as bait to lure out the people, and then just killed him when he wasn't of use anymore. The bait thing, although impressive, isn't what surprised me. It's the fact that these animals know exactly where to target, so someone would be partially crippled but not dead. How these animals know exactly where to launch their claw in that man's back to make him partially crippled is beyond me. It's not like they would do this with normal prey. It sounds generic, but it's actually really easy to kill someone by doing that. Yet they somehow know exactly where to do it without causing death. And unlike the other two raptors, they don't really behave manic. Their calmness is unnerving. They didn't even eat my guy. The moment he couldn't have been of use anymore, one just grabbed him by the head and twisted his neck in one clean motion. The dinosaurs on this island seem to be very good at that, so this one is different in how you die. It honestly depends on what the raptor wants. If it wants you dead quickly, it knows how to do it in down to 4 seconds. And if it wants to drag out your death, it again knows where to pinpoint so you suffer for as long as possible. The next Velociraptors are to this day the biggest subspecies InGen has ever created, and that is of course Blue and her siblings. Massive walls of muscle that are at least 50 pounds heavier than the raptors in the first movie. A lot of you are saying I should have used a chilobator for them in this video instead of Deinonychus, man, you're right. But a chilobator still is, at least 500 pounds in the more conservative estimate, so they still would be like 150 pounds heavier than the park raptors. But hey, I get what you're saying, and they're natural animals, so that size increase could make up for the fact that they don't have all the advantages of the raptors in the movie. The reason I used the Deinonychus first was because that was the original dinosaur that was inspiration for the models, but that's why I love when you guys comment, because in future videos I'm gonna start to use a chilobator instead of Deinonychus because the sizes are a bit more close. Anyway, aside from Owen's training, these guys have a high amount of emotional intelligence, almost to the point where it's human. But that won't really do anything here because if Blue and her siblings want you dead, there's no amount of petting that could save you. Despite them being the most powerful raptors, they don't have as much battle intelligence as the other raptors in the first big 3 films, who aside from the Lost World ones can actively deceive humans and set traps. They are smart in terms of problem solving and figuring out things, but not so much in, the setting trap part. It's like Jack the Ripper versus Einstein. Weird analogy, but go with it. Jack knows how to be cunning and plan out things, but Einstein is arguably more intelligent and has solved many mysteries of our world. In terms of killing you, it's like the first two but faster. If Blue wanted to kill you, she could do so very quickly, but of course, you'd feel every bit of it, because sometimes they just ignore the vitals and just start tearing into your stomach, making you feel every waking moment until you go into shock and succumb to blood loss. You're probably waiting on Rebirth raptors, but they don't deserve to be featured. I admit Rebirth hate is overused now. The movie wasn't that bad. Not the best, but okay-ish. However, these things for Velociraptors were just disappointing. Every single raptor in the past was willing to die for their packmate aside from the Lost World, and even fought megaceropods to avenge them. So why now does one just run away after an animal slightly bigger attack another raptor? Any old gen raptor would immediately jump on that Mutodon if it saw its packmate getting attacked. And even in a 1v1, they would still put up a crazy fight. But even if I wanted to add them, we don't really get enough screen time for me to really say. I guess since they acted more like real predators, they'd probably go for the throat and kill you like that, I don't know. But I think it's about time we rank them. From the least to worst way to go out by one of these things, if you were in an abandoned building. If we add Rebirth, then that's in last place. Moving on, we got Jurassic World and the Lost World Raptors tied for 3rd. Blue and her siblings are stronger and would kill you faster, but if they're hungry, they could eat you alive. The Lost World Raptors aren't as intelligent and you would at least feel some hope as though you could escape. But they do the same thing and just start, eating you alive. In 2nd place is the very first raptor shown to us on film. Raptors like the big one would tear you apart if they caught you. Imagine trying to get away and one of them just crunches on your bone and removes a limb. And as you're trying to crawl away, you feel them tearing into your back before you could do anything. However, in my opinion, number 1 easily goes to Jurassic Park III's Raptor. They would play mind games with you before ending you, hitting walls and making sounds to psych you out. But worst of all is that they would choose how you die. It's not likely to happen if they just wanted you dead, but if they decided they wanted to make you suffer for as long as possible, they very well could, by causing you the most amount of pain without killing you, partially crippling you, breaking bones that won't cause severe internal bleeding, the whole gist. But that's just what I think. I could be overestimating their capacity, but it's just something I could see them doing. But let me know how you'd rank them. Which of the park's raptors would be the very worst one to get killed by? Drop it in the comments. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video.